Koti pranams at his divine feet. I know Swami is present there. That's the confidence. And I only want to say thank you, Swami, for giving me this opportunity to come here and share that infinite love that he has for all of us. I'm going to share a lot of personal experiences. I know many people, even back home, people would say, no, it's too personal, you can't share this. But personally, I feel I want everyone to know that lovely divine love that he showers on us. It's amazing. Every single person who has experienced that love will know what I'm talking about. His love is infinite, timeless, beyond time, beyond space. He's everywhere. And as I said, he's here. I'm positive that he's sitting here, he's directing us, directing me to say something. So if I make mistakes, it's his. If the credit and the debit goes to him. So Sairam. Sairam to every one of you present here. Swami says that he's like the sun, waiting for the windows of our house to open so that the sun can rush in and dispel all darkness. Likewise, he says, he is waiting for us to open out our hearts so that he can enter it, dispel all our fears, and after that, there's no going back. He's there with you every nanosecond of your life, hand-holding you, leading you, directing you. You worry because Swami's asked you to worry. You do something because Swami's asked you to do it. And once you give in to him that way, there's no looking back. 50 years ago, around 50 years ago, I was taken to Puttaparthi by my uncle and aunt, who had also sort of just then moved to the Swami fold. I went thinking, nice break from, I just finished college, and so I said, oh, good for me, nice break from everything, and very critical. I had decided I was going to find fault. There, this muddy road, and literally bumping over rocks and deserted with cacti growing everywhere, and you approach Puttaparthi. One glance, Swami didn't even come near me. Let me tell you that. There, when I just saw this scene of the old Puttaparthi and Swami walking, I was reminded of how we were all sitting there in the sand. Swami just glides past. Maybe he looked at me. I don't even remember that. I only know that was it. I was hooked for life. And what a journey it has been. He has been my best friend. Above all my relatives, all my friends, to me, he is everything. And yes, he has always told me, you're a very patient woman, but more patience, more patience. And every time Swami said Bangaru, you can be sure, he's going to put you through the fire again. But he gave you the confidence, he gave you the courage to go through every single fire incident. You could feel him. I'm going to give you a simple example. Because, the other day somebody mentioned, but I've never seen Swami. So, I don't know whether I have that sort of a faith. I know that Swami is somebody great, but do I have that sort of faith? You don't have to see Swami. He doesn't have to be there physically present. In most of our times, he was not there physically present. He was there because we felt him. Not the physical presence. Physical presence, yes, I've been to Puttaparthi quite a number of times. Maybe not as much as some of the other devotees have. I've seen him lots of times. I've felt him every single moment of my life. There's been no doubt at all on that part of it. So you don't have to see him at all. According to me, my friends make fun of me, my relatives made fun of me. When I would say, I know Swami's blessed this. And they would say, why? My husband would even say, she'll say, there's anga or periya S vandadu. That means there was an S sign on my food or on, or on something. Yes, because that told me, there, Swami has just blessed me. It could be simple, your kade patta forming an S on your sambar. But I would say, this is a blessed sambar. And today, I was folding my clothes, taking the clothes out from the dryer, folding them up and putting them back into my closet. And I just then folded a whole set of clothes, and I was sort of rearranging it. I take out my shawl, put it in, and what do I see? A beautiful S from some white thread. God knows from where that white thread came. I know it was not there when I was folding that set of clothes. Immediately I said, Swami is there. I'm sure that he is there. And which is why I'm offering him some sweets, because I don't want him to be sitting here hungry. I want him to have something to eat. Because I strongly feel his presence with us. Okay, now not to wander off too much, I've never been a Sevadal. I've never been a Bal Vikas teacher. Even though I had opportunities, I always used to say, no, I don't have the time for it. I was not a person who was going regularly to bhajans. Only now, after retirement, I've become even more bhajan singer and all that. Before that, no. Occasionally I would go. To such an extent that about 50 years ago, or a little later, when I was a high school math teacher, and to me, my students were everything. So what would happen was that sometimes the kids would come home, because my house was always open. Any time, any student can walk in, even sometimes late in the evenings. I would say it's okay. I mean, what else do I have to do but help you people? And so, I would miss bhajans, which would happen in my neighbor's house. So my neighbor was most critical. He would say, you come only for the prasadam. Run in just in time for Aarti, do that, quickly grab the prasadam and run away. I said, no, uncle, really I can't come earlier because my students are there. If they were not there, I would come. But he said, no, you're a bad devotee. You're not a good devotee at all. Now, Swami would make regular visits to Chennai. And every time he came, there would be divine discourses on different topics, etc. And all of us, like we would get passes, we would go, etc. Now, this particular year, his topic was, who is a good devotee? I mean, he turned around and looked at all of us and said, there's this huge hall. I mean, more than a few thousands were sitting. Outside also people were sitting. And Swami says, who is a good devotee? And then he says, people think attending Nagar Sankirtan, being good Sevadal, being a good Bal Vikas teacher, attending bhajans, only this qualifies you to be a devotee, a good devotee. No, no, no. You know how he'll say? No, no, no. If you've ever seen Swami's this thing, that lovely smile of his, and he'll say, no, no, no. A good devotee is someone who does his duty. Duty first. So if you're a mother, be a good mother. If you're a teacher, be a good teacher. And he didn't stop with that. He followed it up with saying, if you're a teacher, your students are the most important people. Obviously, we were flabbergasted. I mean, imagine, that's exactly what I had said a few days earlier to my neighbor, an old man, an old-time devotee. So when we came out, the first thing Rao uncle told me was, Amma, I will not question you anymore because Swami says you're a good devotee. This was, of course, quite some time back. I have another very interesting incident to see. Just show Swami's divine love, mother's love, father's love, whatever love you want to call it. You know, again, as I said, every time Swami came to Chennai, we would all go around trying to get passes to attend darshans. And, you know, there was this Abbotsbury was there, and Swami would give darshan there and discourses and sing such really divine bhajans, you know. And this particular year, due to various family reasons, personal reasons, I did not attend any of the darshans or discourses. The whole visit had almost gone by without my seeing Swami. On the very first day of Swami's visit, I come back from work. Now, usually I would have rushed to Abbotsbury to see him. I'd come back from work, the security at the gate hands me a big brown envelope saying, I don't know who it was. Of course in Tamil, but I'll say it in English. I don't know who it was. An old man came and he told me to give this to you. There was no name, nothing, except my name, nothing else was there. So curiously I opened, and what do you think was inside it? A whole set of photographs of Swami. And every one of them said, why fear when I'm here? So to me, I didn't have to go for that darshan there. He had already come home. He is with me. So why should I go for darshan? Now, a couple of days had passed. Usually Swami would stay for 10, 15 days, etc. Just before he was to leave, say 2 days before he was to leave, he turned to my uncle and said, why is it your niece has not come to see me at all this time? Now in all this crowd, Swami is asking, why is it that this small-time devotee was not there to see him? My uncle obviously knew nothing about it. So he had no answer. Then Swami follows it up by saying, do one thing. Tomorrow that private function we are going to, arrange for her and her children, 2 boys, to come for the function. And tell her to go early to help arrangements. So we went. I took the boys along. And interestingly, Swami, when he entered, all the kids who were there were all given 1 rose to hand over to Swami and do namaskar if Swami came to them. They were not to run after him. Swami stops in front of every child and this thing. So Karthik's older brother Raj gave the rose, fell at his feet and didn't. Karthik just stood there waiting. I think Karthik had forgotten that he was supposed to give. So Swami looks at him and says, Adi yarukku? For whom is this? So he says, Vanakku, for you, and in singular, which is most disrespectful in Tamil. So, and then, so good, give. Then he said, come, do namaskar. So we did. Then all of us got namaskaram and all of us settled down to listen to Swami's lecture because it was a special function organized for the students, his students and some VIP guests. After that, they all were led to the dining room. So I told the boys, we are not part of that group, so you should not go. Took them out and went into the garden, one remote corner, from where we could see Swami, but we were away from that group. Everyone's seated. What do you think Swami did? He gets up, walks right across to where we were standing, takes both of them by hand, takes them right in, and seats them in one place. Then turns to the hostess and says, those boys love puris. Give them plenty of puris. Which was true. And my God, I was so tense. And then Swami sits, they're all eating, everybody's finished. But Swami's not getting up. Why? Because those 2 boys are still eating. What do you call this? More than a mother. I don't think I would have immediately said, hurry up, everybody's waiting. Instead, Swami tells everybody, wait till they finish. That is Swami. That is Swami. And for all that, as I told you earlier, I was not a great devotee. I was there. For me, Swami was everything. I was not really doing anything to no seva, nothing. But that was Swami. He remembered. A minute speck in the crowd had not come. He remembered that the 2 boys loved puris and he waited for them to eat. That is his love. Again, I'm going to keep wandering away like this, so please forgive me if you find me wandering off too much. So, coming back to one more incident. I had to, as I said, I was a teacher. So I was leading a delegation of students to a remote rural school in France. And I was being hosted by one of the teachers. Each of us was hosted by somebody. One day, we had gone out for dinner, my hostess and myself, driven out. Now, this was long, long ago, more than 25 years back. So you can imagine, a rural France. We've driven, got late because we were sitting and chatting, and we got a little late. So as we were coming back, I was sort of thinking, oh my God, look at the road, it's so deserted. As it is rural, and there was no power, no electricity or street lamps like we have back home in India or something. And I was a little I won't say nervous, we were busy talking. And then suddenly the car stops. Right in the middle of nowhere, the car stops. You can imagine my panic. So I started, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. According to my family, I keep nagging him so much. So here I was nagging him, saying, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. So she tried. Obviously, she knew how to handle her car. She did open the bonnet, did something. Nothing worked. Absolutely nothing worked. So she said, never mind. Let's sit in the car for the night. My husband will come in search of us in the morning. Because this is pre-cell phone days. So she says, my husband will come in search of. I didn't want to stay in the car in a freezing cold. So I said, Swami, please. Then I told her, if you don't mind, just try one more time. If it doesn't start, we'll stay. She said, are you mad? You saw how many times I did. I said, please, for my sake. So very half-heartedly she tried. And the car started and went along as if it was a brand new car. All the way home. And at the gate, it stopped. Next day, the mechanic was towing the car back and he said, you mean you drove this car and came? How did you? How do you explain to them who was the person who brought you all this way? That one more incident is Rishikesh. We were going to Rishikesh. And that is my husband and I. We were driving up the Himalayas. For those of you who don't know India, Rishikesh, Haridwar, etc. are holy sites in the Himalayas. We were driving up the Himalayas and my children will tell you that my husband and I would fight like mad. Which is why Swami told me patience. Because every time I complained about him, he would say patience. So there we were driving up and one of those massive arguments and I was saying, life is not worth it. Why should I live with this person who's all the time finding fault with me and all? So what did I do? I tried to open the door. My idea was, I'm going to jump off. Enough. I've had enough of this life. Now don't ask me what made me turn. Now remember, in India, it's a right-hand wheel. So, I was sitting behind the driver. I looked at the left, just turned. Sitting in that passenger seat was Swami. He was sitting there. And that second I said, what am I trying to do? When I have my best friend always with me, why am I even thinking on such a stupid concept of jumping off the... Of course, obviously I immediately said, I'm very sorry, Swami. Neither my husband nor the driver saw anybody there. But he was visible to me. After that, as my son mentioned, we've gone through a lot of traumas. Life has been one big ups and downs. I've never, ever thought that I can't do it. Because it is not I who's doing it. It is he who is doing the whole thing. He is with us all the time. Another, as he mentioned, these were things that Swami mentioned to him also during our interview. One more incident which was, it surprised everybody. Everybody thought I was very, very, very brave. We were in Goa with some friends. My husband was posted in Goa at that point of time. So we were in Goa with some friends and we had gone to one of these rural, remote beaches just to have a good time and just spend the day there, etc. Unfortunately, I fell into the water, so I was dripping wet. So I said, no, I'm going to change. We all had carried some clothes with us, so I said, I'm going to change. But this was a remote area, and plus it was mid-afternoon. Goans don't work in the afternoon, so there was nobody inside, and there was no changing room. All that I could find was a rundown shed. Very happily, I said, no, I can go and change. So I went in. That rickety door, I just shut it, started changing. The next second, I had a whole horde of bees come descending down on me. My sari was not there, so the whole body was covered with bees. My first sting happened here. And pain was terrible. As usual, I started off, Sai Ram. He had to come. After that, I felt no pain at all. I was able to remove all the bees from my body, change, come out. Nobody would believe me when I said I felt no pain. They all thought I was being very brave. Because none of them really understood what Swami was. As I said, Swami mentioned this. Ask her. Na indena illiya pak kele. That's how he said, Ask her if I was with her or not. Ask her. How he can talk. So in all these incidences, Swami has shown how much he can protect you. Even more interesting was another case of, I had taken again another set of students to adventure sport we had, and we were doing rappelling. Now I was in my late 40s. So really speaking, I had made big promises to the family that I was not going to do anything, I was just going to stand and watch. But obviously I was tempted. Now either I didn't listen to the instructions given, or overconfidence, I jumped. This is from, say, a 50, 60 feet high rock. You jump, and then you have to walk the rock face. You can't, so the instructor gives you very clear instructions about how to place your foot on the rock face and walk down. Of course, you have a rope tied around you, etc. It's very, very safe. But I jumped, and I found myself hanging upside down. Legs up in the air, head hanging down. Obviously, who else? Sairam started off. I clearly heard instructions coming. Swing. Put your left arm on the ledge that is there in the next rock. So I did that. Lots of scratches and, bruises all over. Then it said, now let go. Allow your foot to go onto the rock face and come down. Child's play after that. Everyone said, oh my God, how could you be so cool-headed? So I told the instructor, sir, your instructions were very clear. What instructions? I said, sir, you told me to swing, put my hand on the ledge. They said, show the ledge. There was no ledge. That rock was straight and simple. I said, listen, look at this. They all thought I was mad. I said, no, sir, I really put my arm on that ledge. Okay, where's the ledge? What instructions are you talking? Nobody had heard that voice, but I heard it. Now, Swami is in Puttaparthi, but look at the way he looked. He came here and spoke, gave me instructions so that I was safe. Again, he mentioned it. Then, the other incident is, Swami would drive down every summer to Kodaikanal from Vrindavan. This particular summer, I happened to be in Goa, and Swami was driving through and halting for lunch at a place in Tamil Nadu called Salem, somewhere near that place. I was rather keen on somehow trying to get darshan because I knew I couldn't go to Kodaikanal that year. So, with great difficulty and different transports, I managed to reach the venue, but I was 1 hour late. Throughout the journey, I kept saying, oh my God, the trains were late. Swami, please, I want to at least glimpse of you. As you're leaving, if you give me a glimpse, that is enough, Swami, please, 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 please. And I arrive at the venue, at the house. The hostess tells me Swami is also late. He arrives only after I've come in. Then gives all of us Pad Namaskar. He speaks to everyone. Everyone's led to the dining hall. The men are seated, hostess and family serving food. Suddenly he beckons me like this and says, get water. Everything is there. And then he says, wash my hands. So I wash his hands. Of course, I was too nervous to even offer a towel for him to wipe his hands. Then everything over, he goes, all the guests move to the next room, Swami is seated. Everyone sits down to listen to Swami's discourse. He again gets up, walks right across the room, tells the hostess, give her some food. Papam. She has not eaten. He'll always say papam. She's not eaten anything from the morning. And he didn't go away. Because I was saying, oh, how can I eat when Swami is sitting there? He said, come, take a plate. And made sure that I had the plate filled up with my food. Gave me vibhuti. Then from there, he was watching whether I was eating, and I had to stand in front of him and quickly eat my food. Not only that, he goes out, meets all the drivers who are there, calls the chap who was driving my car, the cab in which I had traveled, and tells him, No Telugu kada? You're Telugu, no? Why is it you're not speaking your mother tongue? And gives him Vibhuti. The driver was flabbergasted. He says, Amma, how does he know? And net result, I landed up with a huge basket of mangoes, which he said, I have to say thank you. Swami's blessed me. Which, of course, I distributed as prasad to my friends. Now, these are some major incidences. I mean, like, lots of times, some child would come running, and at a stage when nobody really knew that I was a Swami devotee, because I hadn't told anybody at work. A child would come running between classes, and nobody was allowed to leave the class. Some little girl will come running. Ma'am, what is it? We went to Puttaparthi. Vibhuti for you. Who's this child? How did she know I was a Baba devotee? God knows. But Swami saw to it that I had stock of Vibhuti always. Somebody or the other would always give me Vibhuti. Give me a minute. Right. Okay, I am going to come back to the present, because you will think that all this happened when Swami was very much there. I'm coming to 2019. Now, in 2015, Chennai had this huge floods, and all of us were affected by it. Unfortunately, in our case, my husband had a fall, multiple fractures, a traumatic period of having to take him. We were in neck level water around the house. Luckily, no water in the house. But you know how people came to help us in the morning, people whom I had not seen. So as a thank you, I had written, I saw Swami in that. Slum dwellers who themselves had lost their houses, but they came rushing to help me in my days of trouble. Now, after all this, doctors also diagnosed him with severe dementia and Parkinson's. Now, I was the primary caregiver, and obviously life was very difficult. See, he was a 6 foot tall, well-built, heavy person, and a person who believed that his wife was not capable of taking care of him. So, he would never cooperate with me, lifting him, trying to get him to take him to the doctor. He was sometimes pretty violent, like trying to hit me. So finally we decided that all by myself in Chennai was difficult, so we moved to Whitefield. And so that was 2016. Now 2019, I'm going to move a little faster. 2019, February. I'm coming to this. We live in a house where we're about 4 floors away from the basement, the ground. And my bedroom windows face the open fields. So there's no way anyone can climb into my window. And because of Bangalore being rather chilly, sometimes I keep my windows closed. This particular window was mostly closed. I usually would get up in the morning, run into the puja room, Vibhuti, that's all the prayer I would do. Say, Swami, please be with me, run back. I would stand near this window to watch the sun rise. It was a beautiful sight. Now, on this particular day, as I was standing, I observed a hand, an imprint of a hand appearing on that window. For a second, I just kept looking at it and saying, am I imagining something? So immediately I called my neighbors. They all said, oh my gosh, there's no doubt at all, because we could see Swami's face here. It almost looked as if he was saying something to somebody, And then somebody else could see him again giving a blessing to all of us. And the rising sun was creating a beautiful halo over the fingers looked as if they were hair, and there was this beautiful halo around his hair. Now, this is February 2019. And, Bangalore gets pretty heavy rains. It lashes, sometimes water comes rushing in. Through all that imprint continues. Till I left for the US, that imprint continues. I mean, the atheist, people who don't really believe in all this, one of them asked me, how do you know it's Swami? It could be that somebody has come and placed it. I said, okay, come on, tell me. Who could have placed that imprint 4 stories? Does he have a ladder that big to climb up and come and place this imprint and go. Why would he do that? So to me, it was only Swami. To all those who believed in him, it was only Swami. Atheists can say what they want. The others who believed did. I mean, like many of them started coming up and saying, oh my God, really it's still there. And they would come take a look and go, So that's to say I'm there. Now 2019 has been pretty traumatic for us. As I said, my husband was very sick. There used to be times when, this was in 2018 for instance, when he became very violent, very sick, and we had a whole list of nurses, caregivers coming and going, and I was stuck for 2 days with no help whatsoever. Now I live in a retirement community, so my neighbors are all older than me, so there's no way I can go and ask them for any help. Now on these 2 days, lifting him off the bed, using a walker, making him stand, holding him, trying to make him walk, was next to impossible, especially for a person who was most uncooperative. And every time I would just say, Yo Swami, Mudila. Mudila means I can't, I'm not able to manage. Or Swami, please help. You won't believe it. Right across the room, I have a music system. It would switch on automatically. And it would play his favorite Shiva bhajan, which would immediately quieten down my husband and we would move on. But twice on those 2 days, what happened was he was so violent that he shook me so much that I was almost going to fall off. I mean, like, I was like this, holding on to him and trying to balance myself. Impossible. I just said, "You Swami, help, please help." Suddenly I felt myself being moved. Me and my husband together, back to the standing position, steadied, and this invisible hand was moving us to a safe place. I can only say I just cried. I usually tell myself I never cry. But that day, the tears of joy was amazing. I mean, I just broke down. I said, Swami, thank you. I don't know how to thank you. I mean, imagine him coming to help you out. And Swami is already in Samadhi. According to all reports, he's not there. His physical form is not there. He's very much there with us. Then after this, we decided that we would shift my husband to a palliative center. Right across the city, we found a place for him where he was happy, comfortable, etc. On 18th of August, around midnight, 2019, we had to shift him to the hospital. And I had to sign saying I don't want him to be put on ventilator. And the doctors told me, okay, go back home. You can't wait here. Why don't you go home? Come back at 9 o'clock. So I came back. This was 4 o'clock in the morning by the time I reached home. So I was sitting in the chair and sort of, dozing off, when I suddenly heard my husband calling. The voice was clear. So I said, oh my God, this means I have to go immediately. So quickly showered, picked up my phone to call the Uber. I saw a message from one of our counselors. She's the director of our counseling department. She meditates in the morning. And her message was, Swami has sent a message for you. Please read the poem that I'm given below to him immediately. So I started reading the poem. Suddenly she calls. She says, Swami says, you have to go now. Go. And obviously I rushed to the hospital. I was allowed to go into the ICU. And because I said, I just have to read this poem to him. So I went in, read the poem out saying, Swami sent you a message. So my husband was not conscious. Not only not conscious, he was struggling for breath. He was a terrible sight. I mean, frightful. So all that I could think of was that I hold him and just keep chanting. I chanted Om Namah Shivaya for him because, as I said, that was his favorite God. Even as I was chanting for about an hour or so, I was feeling miserable because he was really struggling. And his eyes had turned grey and there were blood spots all over. And, I didn't know what to do. So I just closed my eyes for a few seconds. I said, Swami, please help. Do something. Take him. He's really suffering. You wouldn't believe it. I felt as if I was holding my hand out like this. And my husband's body was just moving. I saw this white figure move to Swami's feet. Few minutes later, when I opened my eyes, he was calm, eyes closed, and he passed away peacefully after that. I could only say, thank you, Swami. To this day, that's all I tell. When people say, you don't feel sad? I said, why should I feel sad? He's in such a beautiful place. So I know Swami has taken him. Why would I even grieve for him? If I can get something like that, I'll be the happiest person in the world. Then we had all our usual rites that are associated with death. Then Karthik and myself went to Swami's room. Now, in the hospital where I counsel, there's a beautiful room for Swami, where it's just a chair, a table and a chair for him. And we offer prasad. I mean, the hospital kitchen offers him. So we had taken some chocolates and dry fruits, left it at Swami's padam, then namaskar. Then we usually wait while Swami has his lunch. Then we go back in and take whatever we've offered. Every single chocolate, every packet of dry fruit that we had kept there had vibhuti covered over it. You know, there it is. So, of course, I shared it with everybody, all the students in the hospital. There's a college attached to the hospital, so we have all the students, they come in for bhajan, so I offered this. Okay. That's his table. They have a picture of Swami there. And usually they offer food here, and we had left this with the lunch trays on the other side. So, and it's not the only time. I've had lots of occasions when Swami is blessed whatever we've offered. And I've even had that, I don't know how to even say it. We were standing, all of us were sitting there. I said, I'm not able to sit, so can I stand? So I was watching. The hospital had arranged some saris for distribution. As I was standing there, I opened my eyes and I saw vibhuti materializing on that sari. I watched as that little heap grew. It was obvious Swami was there. And even even an atheist, and I have friends who are atheists, who have come with me, have said, there's a divine presence in this place. There's something wonderful about that hospital. I mean, you can feel Swami's presence, and the hospital is full of miracles, which I hope to be able to share with you, some of it at least. I've told you earlier that I was a teacher. I was a math teacher. You want some more pictures to be sure? Oh, okay. Oh, that yellow envelope was, this is my house. This yellow envelope was a letter I used to write to Swami. Before I moved my husband to the palliative center, it's a very difficult decision to say that, okay, you know what, let me go and leave him there. Because there they don't allow you to come and visit him every day, etc. So every day I would write a letter. Every day I would go stand there in line and say, can I please leave the letter in Swami's padam. And every time, so that was the envelope that I used to use. Every time Swami would bless it with vibhuti. So one final time, but just 2 days later, I knew Swami wanted me to move him because it was blessed. 2 days, or the day before we moved him, happened to be a Monday, that was my duty day. That morning I was thinking, I'm going to write one more letter. And then suddenly it struck me, I can't go nagging him all the time on the same question. So I'm not writing the letter. So I come to my counseling work. There's a person who's in charge of this room who gets messages from Swami. He comes running and says, Auntie, I had a dream last night, or rather this early morning. He said, you were planning to write a letter? So I looked at him and smiled and, not knowing what to say. Then he says, Swami says, Na padichachi. I've already read her letter. Tell her I've already read her letter. So this man says, who's the her? Whom do I have to tell? Because he didn't know who he was telling. So he says, Niku sigguledu? I mean in Telugu. He says, aren't you ashamed? That counselor Mami who comes every Monday with flowers for my altar. You don't know her? So he says, so Auntie, Swami calls you counselor Mami and here's your message. I was thrilled. I was thrilled that, he should give me a message through somebody. Why I'm keeping on repeating all this is just to tell you people that you don't have to have him with you. Because he's with you. Once you've opened your heart, he's already there. I mean, we are not Hanumans to open our heart and show. But if we can show, you will see that all of us have Swami with us. Believe you have him with you. And he's always there through thick and thin. So after I shifted him, of course, other times also, every time, even before he died, I knew he was going to die any time because Swami had sort of warned me about it. I also have another small little this thing. Again, this message came to me through the same person who was in charge of the... he said, after this death, people were saying, why do you put vibhuti? Why can't you put kumkum? And, and I said, no, somehow I'm going to ask Swami because to me, everything I have to ask Swami. I'll get an answer. As I said, in some form. If S appears, that means Swami has listened to my question. Or if you open a book, you'll have an answer there. Anything. But if you believe, you have an answer. That's it. So when I went there, I was praying in my heart, Swami, everybody is telling me to wear kumkum. You tell me what to do. You won't believe it. From Swami's chair, they never take the vibhuti. They allow the vibhuti to fall off before it's collected and given. This person in charge had left the room already. And this was the 4th day after the death of my husband. Had gone there. My older son and myself, we did namaskar. We were leaving. And this man comes running, picks up some vibhuti from the chair and gives it to my son. So my son said, in our community, we don't use vibhuti because we're supposedly, the death has just happened. He says, Swami is asking you to take it. Then he comes to me and says, Swami is saying, use this. Which is what I'm using still, like a packet of vibhuti that he gave me. But now when I left, he said, Swami, because I had decided that, from now I'm going to be detached in all those high and lofty ideas. So he says, Swami wants to know why you're doing all this. So I said, no. Swami's been talking about detachment, isn't it? So I was thinking, why is he asking me this? He says, no. Swami wants you to put kumkum. And at another center when I went to ask, because at that center lots of vibhuti and kumkum and haldi powder and rudraksh, everything comes in that center. So I had gone before I came to Raleigh, and that lady said, today there's no vibhuti for you, but I think Swami sent you some kumkum and haldi. 2 boxes of kumkum. The kumkum I hope to be able to share with you. So I felt that, here was Swami giving me the same message. Yes, at some point, yes, I will. So why he said that was that to every woman from birth, the kumkum is part of your life. So you don't have to keep thinking, oh no, now I can't wear, etc. Swami's always said that, and he reiterated it again. As I said, okay, I'm a teacher, so I used to write. I've been teaching for quite some time. Suddenly I got an offer from one of the leading publishers of textbooks asking me to do a series of math textbooks. My first reaction was, me and math textbooks? Why? I'm not qualified to write textbooks. So then, as usual, my prayer, I said, okay, Swami, I'm going to send them a sample textbook. Now, if you think they will approve, very good. Now, I wrote the sample textbook. I used to go for bhajans. At that phase, I was going for bhajans to a particular house where Swami was full leela at that house. So I left the draft at Swami's feet there. We sat for bhajans, etc. By the end of the bhajan, across the draft, with love, Sathya Sai Baba was signed. I was obviously thrilled. So I sent my draft. It got selected. And I was asked to go ahead and make the textbooks, classes 1 to 8. Every time I completed one set of books, I would go back, leave it there. And you won't believe it. During that time of the bhajan, 1.5 hours, because by the time prasad, etc. was distributed, 1.5 hours, I would go back, there would be corrections made on my draft. Now, first thing anybody would ask is, how come? But that's Swami, one whole math textbook, so big. Corrections made on different pages. Sometimes the answer would be circled. But then when I went back home and worked it out and said, oh no, I had made a stupid mistake. Sometimes that language in which it was addressed, that would be underlined. Once I had corrected everything, pakka, and kept the book back with love, Sathya Sai Baba would come. And this was not just for one book. Every single book I sent across only when Swami signed it. So when my first check arrived, I was very excited. This is Swami's check. I'm not going to take it, so I'm going to give it to the trust. Because it is his book. I didn't do anything. So then I put the publisher's check into my account, grandly wrote out the check. My uncle said, okay, I'll take it. I don't know whether Swami will take it, but I will go show it to him. So my uncle was just holding that paper like this. What is that? So my uncle said, my niece has sent something. What? She thinks she's got lots of money, that she wants to give away the check to me. So my uncle didn't know what to say. So he just kept holding it. So Swami took it. Next to his chair, there was a table. He kept it open, face open. So anybody who walked into the room would know there was a check there. Why he did that, God knows. So I was very happy. Swami's accepted my check. Then a week passed, 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed. Every time my uncle went to Swami's room, he would come back and say, Swami has not deposited your check in the bank. Obviously, I was so upset. Why, Swami, why? Now I went to the bank, to my bank, just to check something. And then the manager says, ma'am, we're very sorry. We have misplaced your check. I said, you mean my publisher's check? He says, yes. Oh my God. And the first thing it struck me was, oh my God, and otherwise my bank account was zero. What will happen if Swami had sent the check in? It was a criminal offense, isn't it? So Swami has not sent it in. So I said, so what do I do? They said, no, we found the check. So today we are crediting it into your account. Next week, Swami had sent my check was credited into the trust. How can I say? I don't know how to say thank you because I know what the consequences would have been. Look at how caring he was. He knew what was happening. That is Swami. That's what I want to keep on saying. That is Swami. So coming back to, I wanted to talk about another incident, interesting incident. My older son had got engaged and we were having the engagement ceremony. So I had this was in November, just after Swami's birthday. And so I had made a little invitation for one, because I wanted to send it to Puttaparthi, get Swami's blessings. And two, of course, that I wanted to give it to a few people. Now on Swami's birthday, I get a call from the printer. I don't know the printer from Adam. I mean, somebody said, why don't you ask her to print? Done. She calls and says, can I come over to your house? So I said, listen, I'm not at home. I'm busy now. Can you come in the afternoon? And all the time my mind was, what does she want? After all, I've paid her. What does she want? So we fixed it up for 4 o'clock. At 4, she calls and says, ma'am, I'm so sorry. Can I come at 9 in the night? I said, okay. Though I was very irritated, but I said, okay, never mind, come over. She comes at 9 o'clock in the night and says, where's your puja room? And I said, after all, I hardly know her. Anyway, I said, okay, here, this is the puja room. So she said, can you give me a tray? Can you give me a dish? Okay, a tray was there. I brought a dish and a bowl and kept it there. Then she proceeded to take something out of the bag. And there was this beautiful statue of Swami. Swami seated in the chair with his hands in Abhay Hasta. Now, this was a statue that I had seen somewhere. It had just got into the market. And I've been thinking, I have to buy one like that. I want one. But sometimes you just don't get around to buying something. Then as she gave this to me, I said, for me? She said, yes, ma'am. And she said, don't you want to know the story behind it? I said, of course I want to know. Why suddenly you're giving me this? Then she said, ma'am, for quite some time I've been wanting to buy this statue. Yesterday at a shop, I found 3 statues. So she and her partner decided 2. The shopkeeper said, please, ma'am, with only 1 left, why didn't you take it? So her husband said, take it. We can always give it to somebody. So on Swami's birthday, they wrote out the names of all the people whom they knew who would appreciate Swami's statue. Put it into a box, and they were going to pick a lot. Just as she was about to put her hand in to pick, she heard a voice saying, "What about Rama Narayanaswamy?" So she quickly scribbled my name, put it into the box, shook it well, and picked out. So my name came up. Very good. So she said, "We decided, that's why I called you in the morning." Then, since you were not there, I was supposed to come at 4. At 4, she gets a call from her Samiti saying there's a little last-minute preparations for the evening bhajan, so come over. So she called and said, "I'll come at 9. So the bhajans were over, everything. She had not told anybody she was going out somewhere. She was just starting her car when an old man came running and said in Tamil, "Nee pa ingyo porella. You're going somewhere, isn't it? This prasad is for her." And one dabba of lovely kheer, pal paisam. Now this lady says, "I don't know who that old man is. I had not told anybody that I was coming to your house. But here was this old man who came and gave me this. So, ma'am, this is for you." Now look at his love. He knew I wanted his statue. He sent it to me. And to top it all, he sent me his birthday prasad. What more how can I not be confident that he is always with me? That is how his love is. And as I said again and again, I am repeating, I'm not one of those who was always at Parthi. All that I knew was Swami is with me. I'm not one of those who does puja all the time. Most days, frankly, I even forget to light the lamp because I'm busy doing something else. But to me, every single second, he's there. Even now, I mean, it might sound crazy to some of you. Even now, when I came and sat here, the first thing I did was if I closed my eyes, I said, "Swami, I'm very nervous. I know you will talk, but I want you to tell me, yes, I'm there with you." And I really saw this, standing there doing that. As if he was standing from some up there, he was doing that. So I know he's there. He is with us, listening to every single word every reaction of ours. So when we went, now to come to the interview that we had. We had before that, of course, just a few weeks before. I'm going backwards a little bit. At the same time, my uncle was having his 60th birthday at Whitefield. Swami was going to perform it. And very close relatives were only invited. So it was a small hall. So we witnessed Swami materializing the Mangal Sutra and giving and all that. Then he said all of us could get Pada Namaskar. So he called each one. Everyone, we were 20 of us inside that hall. Everyone except me. And and I was looking, Swami, next my turn. He just didn't call me. So I quickly moved such that I knew Swami would go out this way, so let me go sit there so that I can grab his feet when he's going out. But you know how Swami can dodge you. He just glides away. And I said, "Oh God, Swami, what did I do wrong that you don't want to give me alone a Pada Namaskar?" He goes out, then does that, and gives you that lovely divine smile, just looks back like this and smiles and says, "Apparam paakalam. See you later." And during that lunch that he had provided for all of us, again, he didn't come in my direction. I was sitting somewhere there. He calls one of the boys, "Go give us some applums." She's very fond of applums. And that boy was, I was so stunned. He came running to me and placed 2-3 applums on because I am very fond of applums. Every meal, I must have my applum with me. Look at that. He didn't come to me. He did not come and stand next to me and say, "Are you eating?" or anything. Small things, he would suddenly call. And you'll be looking around to see who he's calling. And do this. Or when this particular, when Swami, not here, the Swamis, when I had taken my 2 boys once and we were sitting in the sand, both the boys were sitting on my lap. So when he came, I made the 2 of them do Namaskar. I couldn't do it. He's looking at me, "Please go." And then he waited till I moved the boys, bent forward and took Namaskar. At that time, I was a new devotee. I had hardly, maybe 10 years max, I had been a devotee. And as I said, not one of those great devotees. So in the interview, the first day, of course, the first time he called us, we were in a group. Next day, he calls only me and says, "Come, So I run up to the veranda and start looking for Karthik in the crowd. Then he comes next to me and says, there he's sitting. Come. You know, in the crowd, from the crowd, he just says, come. He knew where he was. And I couldn't spot him, even though he was sitting right there in front. So, and then this was this huge group of Russians. We were the only two Indians. Swami took us inside and, as he said, talked to us at great length, holding him, his head on his lap, patting him and all that. All that Karthik said happened. Then we come out and he's talking to the others in Russian. Then he's asking us, can you translate? We don't know Russian. We said we don't even know what language that is. So he told us that's Russian. He speaks in Russian, translates it to us in Tamil. Speaks to us in Tamil and translates it to them. That's when he materialized his green ring for him. Then I was sitting on, somewhere near his left foot. So he kept looking, Rama. తీసుకుంటావా వేసుకుంటావా ఇస్తే meaning, will you wear if I give you? Obviously, I just happily shook my head. And right in front of our eyes, he materialized a beautiful ruby necklace with my name, R, on both sides, with a little bow in between. Then he turns to then he made me bend down, clasped it around my neck. And then he turns to all of them and the Russians and tells them, her name is Rama. R represents Rama. Then when he goes out, he tells my uncle, I've given her a necklace. The R is holding the bow is N, Narayanaswamy. She only is holding him up. Of course, he jokingly, my uncle of course made it into a joke, but anyway, that's how it was. Now this necklace was just a little tight for me. I mean, like, it was sitting like this. Before we left the room, he told my son, call Guwahati. My husband was posted in Assam, Guwahati. So Swami would call him Guwahati. Call Guwahati. Papa, he's very scared because he's criticized Swami. He thinks Swami is angry with him. Tell him Swami is never angry with anyone. Call him and ask him to come. So next week we were back in Parthi. Swami asked us to come in. Then again he materialized a chain and a pendant for him. Then he looked at my husband and said, what? Every time your father-in-law gave you a diamond ring, you found fault with it, hundreds of faults. Now Swami is giving you a ring, you have to wear it. And he materialized a beautiful ring for him. And I must say, till almost towards the end, my husband was wearing that ring. And then he turned to me, looked at me, and one tight slap here. Like, pluck. I can still feel it, that sort of, slap. That necklace that was so tight, which was standing like this, slipped such that the bow sat in this area. And every time I went, there was something, as I said, the Bangaru, of course, every time, but other things, a smile, saying you are hungry, why should you starve? I remember one Shivratri, though I had the first row, I had changed it to the second row because there was an old lady sitting behind me. So he comes, looks at me and says, Enduku tinledu? Prasadam was in our hands. So I said, Swami, namaskaram kavali. Sari. Then I did namaskaram and he said, Tinu. Because all of us were fasting for Shivratri. Next morning, usually Swami gives out prasad for all of us. That's the sort of care he has for everybody. And it's not just me. My experiences are just a small dot. If you talk to other people, so many of them, I wish they would start talking about it. Because so many of them in different parts of the world have experienced it. So many people who have seen him in different parts of the world, even though Swami has not really traveled everywhere. Even now, people who say, I saw Swami coming to me. I remember an Englishman saying that he was sitting there during bhajan, and then he asked me later, in that bhajan hall, you think Swami was walking? So I said, but Swami's taken samadhi, isn't it? No. That main picture, I'm sure it walked right across. This was in Chennai and Sundaram. So, that sort of an experience. Am I overshooting the time? I'm sorry. So, just one more incident from the hospital. Have I the time for it? Okay. I told you that I volunteer at the hospital, and hospital has seen lots of miracles, which it's impossible for me to go on talking about it. But one thing that I would like to say is, really speaking, it's two things. Anyway, one was a patient where I was involved in it. See, this patient, we do a lot of counseling work. And my turn, I had this patient who was sitting in the prayer room, literally doing this and sitting. He was suffering with severe migraine, or headache as he called it. And it was a sight. I mean, he was so much in pain. So when I said, come with me, I realized he didn't understand my language. He was a Bengali, and I didn't know Bengali. So I took him to my cabin. I made him sit down and sent a message to the Bengali counselor to come over. She was busy, so I sat with him. I just, by sign language, I held him on the shoulders, made him sit down. I put his hands together. I said, just close your eyes. Just sit there for a few minutes. You'll feel better. Whatever I said, he did. So I sat in front of him. I just kept chanting Swami's name. I just sat looking at his face, saying, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. His face was concocted with pain. A few minutes later, 15 or 20 minutes later, his wife tapped me and said, look at his face. The pain had gone. He was looking calm. And then we continued. I continued to sit in with him. So by then, the other counselors had all come in to see what was happening. After some time, his face broke into a smile. And then, a little later, maybe another 15 minutes later, he woke up and he says, he just does that. Then the Bengali counselor took over because we obviously wanted to know what happened. He says, for years together, I've seen so many doctors, so many hospitals. All that they have done is given me a list of medicines to take. People said, he's even forgotten how to smile. That's how much he was in pain. He says, now I don't have any pain. I don't feel, and it was not as if it was that minute. He was there for more than an hour after that. And he continued to say, I have no pain. Now none of us did anything. But look at the way Swami's worked on him, sitting in Whitefield Hospital. There are lots of other things that I would like to share, but obviously we're running out of time. I just want to keep adding to you. You don't need that physical form. You don't need even that picture. You believe. And it's not just Swami. You can believe. Swami says you can believe anybody. You call Allah. We have Muslim patients who have come back and reported how beautiful it was to be in that hospital. And how they've been cured of some of the diseases. We've not even heard of those names. But they've all been cured without spending a pie. That's the greatest miracle. That Swami's arranged for every patient to be treated free of charge. And so all this and more he's doing. So much when you listen to the people talk about the water project or talk about the hospitals, talk about healthcare, schools. Amazing, the schools are doing amazing work. All these are miracles that Swami has achieved. And all this he will achieve in all our lives. Except that we have to open our heart to him and believe that he is there for us at all points of time. Sai Ram to all of you. Thank you.